Oh, hey, come on in. We'll talk about pocket knives. Today I want to talk to you about shell-handled knives. Shell-handled knives are those in which the handles and bolsters are hollow and they clip onto the frame of the knife. This made manufacturing the knife quick and inexpensive. This particular knife was made by Imperial. It's well constructed using very good steel. There is a clip on each end of the handles. To remove the handles, you typically can bend the clip out and pop the handles right off. Now I'm careful not to bend these too far so they don't break. And here you can see me pointing out the clips on each end of the inside handle. The liners, springs, blades, all are pinned together with steel rivets, keeping the knife sturdy even with those handles removed. Now to disassemble the knife further, I use a rotary tool and sanding drum to grind the head off the rivet where the blade pivots. This is much easier than grinding off pins on typical knife construction because any missteps or problems with the sander are going to be covered up by those handles afterward. Now these pins normally fall out easily with the head ground off, making blade removal and replacement very easy. Alright, so I've got this Barlow knife taken apart to put this blade in. This is the blade that came out of the one I just showed you a few minutes ago. You might ask, why would you take a blade out of a good, perfectly working knife to put it in another? That's because this knife once belonged to my father-in-law. So we're going to fix this up for him. The main blade was broken out. He gave it to me several years ago, said if I would have it fixed, that I could give it to my son. It's kind of a keepsake. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, as you see, it's going to be hard to compress the springs, and I did not take my pivot pin, our center pin out. If we didn't take the center pin out, how are we going to do that? We're going to use this tool here. Okay, this is one that I made several years ago, and I'll show you how it works. Now, let me interrupt the video for just a moment and explain what this tool is before I start showing you how to use it. This is a spring compressor. I have a two-bladed one and a single-blade spring compressor. The two-blade compressor is made out of flat bar stock steel and split at one end. This split sits over the center liner of a knife, and the two ends each push against a spring. The one-blade compressor is made out of an old broken knife spring. It only works on very small knives. A friend of mine showed me how to make this years ago, and I rarely see anyone else ever use them. This may have even been his own invention, I don't know. But it is especially helpful when you have delicate handle material and you don't want to put the center pin in last and risk damaging those handles. Instead, this lets you put the last pin in at the bolsters. Now, let's see it in action. Now you set the tool in over the center liner against the back springs. Make sure that it does not sit in the way near the end of the springs where the tangs will go. Next, we'll put it in the vise. Here you see me slide it over, sticking out of the vise a little further. You have to leave room for the springs to move. There we go. Next, I tighten down the vise slowly until I begin to see the springs peek out from beneath those liners. Here we go. We'll tighten it very slowly. I don't want to break or bend the springs. And there, we see the springs peeking out. At that point, I can hold the blades in place and insert the pins by hand. It really is just this easy. Watch. Just like that. Now we'll take it out and do a test fit of the knife, see how the blades work. Now I chose to replace the steel rivet with a brass pin. You could use a nail, you can use steel wire, whatever you have. I only chose the brass because I have quite a bit of it in that size laying around. Peening this knife is just like peening any other, except we don't have to make those pins disappear as the handles will cover them up. You see me just delicately tap it. I'll try the knife, turn it over, tap it again. We have to flare the heads out enough to hold it in place, but there's nothing to file or grind off afterwards. It's still a little loose. A few more taps. Now we'll go to the other side, test that blade. A little wobble, give it a few taps. I'm just doing light taps. We'll give it a couple more. We're getting close. And there we go. Blades are good and tight, but they're not too tight. We have great snap. This knife is ready to assemble. Now watch how easy assembly is after I oil it and test it a time or two. Oil the joints, work that oil in a little bit. Just like that. Now it's time to assemble the knife. Watch and see how easy it is to assemble. Clip in the tap in the back. Snap that front one in. And I will curl the front one back down. Again, I didn't straighten it all of the way because they can break off, especially if you've done this a couple of times to the same knife. Second handle, we clip in the back, snap it in place. Push that tab back down tight. Make sure they're both good and tight so the handle doesn't wiggle. And this knife is done. No sanding, no polishing. It's ready to go. Thank you for watching.